"You're not welcome this Easter," my mom whispered softly when I arrived. "Okay," I thought, "but don't expect me to send over that $10,000 anymore." I made sure to shut off their electricity, water, and internet as I was leaving their place. "Don't come inside," I told her. Those were the first words out of my mom's mouth when she opened the door. No hug, no smile, just a cold stare. No, "Happy Easter, sweetheart," just those flat, quiet words that hit me like a punch to the chest. I stood there on the porch, holding a bottle of wine in one hand and a basket filled with homemade chocolate eggs in the other. I even wore the light blue shirt she liked, the one she said made my eyes pop. She used to say it with pride. But now, she didn't even bother to look me in the eye. "What?" I blinked, confused. "You're joking, right?" My mom glanced behind her, then stepped out and shut the door almost all the way, leaving just a thin crack open. Like I was some kind of threat. She whispered, "It's better if you don't come in today." The air around me froze solid. "I drove 3 hours to get here," I said. "I know," she replied softly, "but things are tense." "And?" "Samantha said she wouldn't come if you were around." Of course she did. Samantha. I should have guessed she was behind all this. She's always been good at stirring things up. I could hear laughter from inside the house, clinking glasses, cheerful voices. Then I heard Uncle Martin laugh and say, "Cheers to family being together." Moments later, Samantha's voice rang out, loud and sweet as sugar. "Honestly, this year feels so peaceful," she said. "No drama, no negativity." I wanted to scream at that. Instead, I just forced a smile. Calm and steady. The kind that says, "You don't have a clue what's coming next." "You know what?" I said, pulling out my phone. "Enjoy your peaceful Easter. But don't expect my $10,000 anymore." My mom's face changed instantly, her eyes widened in confusion. "What money?" she asked slowly. I looked straight into her eyes. "The electricity bills. The water bills. The internet bills I've been paying for this house every month, expenses you said you needed just until Dad got back on his feet. Well, guess what? They're all in my name now. And I just turned them off." Her mouth opened and then shut again. She went pale. "What? You didn't? Tell me you didn't do that." I tilted my phone toward her. "See this app? One tap is all it takes." I pressed my thumb against the screen, lights out. From inside the house, I could hear Samantha shouting. She said the Wi-Fi just cut off. What was that? Mom yelled through the phone, trying to call someone for help. But I stepped back. "Happy Easter," I said softly. Then turned around and headed back to my car. No one followed me. No apologies came either. As I sat behind the wheel, I saw Samantha appear in the doorway behind my mom, her face red with anger, holding her phone high in the air. "Are you crazy? We were about to eat lunch." I rolled down the window and called back over my shoulder, "Call your real family, maybe they'll pay the bills next month." With that, I started my engine and drove away. No guilt. No second thoughts. That was the moment I stopped being their personal utility provider and became the ghost they couldn't exploit anymore. I used to tell myself I was helping out, that I was the responsible one, that family meant sacrificing everything. I told myself all sorts of things. Like when my dad called me during a meeting, blunt and cold, saying power's getting shut off. "What? Again?" I whispered from down the hall, stepping outside. "Just for a couple of days," he said. "If you can cover it, I'll send it back by Friday." But he never did, and I paid anyway. Like always. My family has a long history of taking without asking, and I've always let them get away with it. When Dad lost his job 3 years ago, I stepped up to pay the utilities. When Mom needed a dental procedure that wasn't urgent but made her feel insecure, I covered that too. When Samantha couldn't renew her car lease, I co-signed for her new one and paid the first 6 months. At first, it felt good, being seen as dependable, as having it all together. But slowly, that appreciation turned into expectation. Then entitlement. And finally, disdain. Samantha would say at dinner, "You're so lucky you don't have kids. All your money is just yours. That must be nice." Once, I responded bitterly, "The money I used to pay your bills." "Oh please," she scoffed. "Don't act like it's charity. You like feeling superior." Mom chimed in quickly, trying to smooth things over, but she didn't really mean it like that. "No." But Samantha shot back with a smirk, "That's exactly what I mean. You think we should bow down because you pay a couple of bills?" A couple of bills. Water, $1.93 a month, electricity, $2.20, internet, $1.99, streaming services, mobile plans, Amazon orders. I stopped counting after a while. Last month alone, I realized I'd sent over $10,000 in just a year. And yet? To them, I was still just the bitter brother who never smiled in family photos, the selfish one who never changed. The worst part? I didn't even feel surprised anymore. A few weeks back, I overheard something I wasn't supposed to hear. I came by unannounced to drop off groceries and overheard laughter from the kitchen, Samantha saying he's so uptight, paying a few bills makes him feel like king of the world. Mom added that he's probably just lonely, and Dad chimed in that he works too much. All that money, and I had no one to spend it on. At least Samantha said he's good for something. I'd probably break down crying if I had to cover my own internet bill, but they all just laughed. I stood there frozen on the porch, holding grocery bags in my hands. No one even noticed me, I just turned around and left without saying a word. Later that night, I went ahead and canceled the auto-pay on their Netflix and Disney Plus subscriptions. The next day, Samantha sent me a text asking, "Did the Wi-Fi glitch out, or did you forget to pay again?" I didn't reply back, but honestly, the real breaking point came about 2 months earlier. I logged into my bank account to send some money and saw something weird, several Apple Pay charges I didn't recognize, like a new MacBook, a wellness retreat and a bunch of designer clothes, all billed to the card I'd given my mom, just in case of emergencies. I immediately called her. "Did you buy a MacBook?" I asked. "Oh, that was for Samantha," she said casually. "She needed one for work. As for the retreat?" She told me she was going through a rough patch, crying every night, using my money to do it. She fell silent for a moment before softly saying, "You make more than all of us combined. It's not like you can't afford it." Without saying a word, I hung up. For days, I kept debating whether I should confront them, but then I remembered something Samantha had said last Thanksgiving, "We all play our roles. Mine is being fabulous. Yours is paying for the turkey." She'd laughed, and everyone else had too. I forced myself to smile and swallowed my pride, but now, just looking at a turkey made me want to scream. Easter was supposed to be that one time of year where we all pretended we cared about each other. I bought gifts for the kids, booked time off work, even made reservations for Sunday brunch, everything seemed set. Then a week before, I got a text from my mom, "Hey sweetie, could you make sure the utility bills are paid before the weekend? Samantha's hosting an egg hunt at the house." I didn't reply, yet I went ahead and paid $395 to cover their bills, even though there was no gratitude in return. And then Easter Day rolled around. I showed up with some wine and chocolates, only to have them shut the door in my face. "You're not welcome this Easter," my mom said bluntly. Samantha made sure I heard her loud and clear, "Honestly, it just feels better without all the moodiness. Let's keep things light this year." They wanted light. Well, I gave them darkness, literally. No electricity, no water, no internet. I sat in my car watching the house slowly lose power, the porch light flickered off, the lawn sprinkler stopped watering. 5 minutes later, Samantha stormed out of the front door waving her phone like a sword. "What did you do?" she yelled. I rolled down the window and simply replied, "Enjoy Easter your way, without me." Then I drove off, finally realizing that sometimes, the only way to heal is to cut the cord entirely. I didn't even get home before the calls started pouring in, first from my mom, then my dad, then Samantha. Over and over again. My phone was buzzing so intensely it nearly slipped off the seat. I ignored all of them until one message from my dad made me laugh out loud. "You're being dramatic. Come back and fix this, fix this." "You mean fix your water? Your internet? Your idea of what makes a family?" "No thanks." They showed up at my place about 2 hours later. I heard the knock but didn't move from where I sat. Let them stew, maybe they'd feel something for once. Then suddenly, I heard shouting, "Are you seriously going to ignore your own mother on Easter? Open up right now or we're calling the police," Samantha yelled. "This is abuse," she added even louder. I opened the door just as she raised her hand to bang again. She stumbled forward, nearly falling inside my house. "Get in," I said flatly. "But if any of you raise your voice again, I'll call the cops myself." They stormed in, Mom crying, Dad pacing back and forth, Samantha shouting, creating chaos. "Do you think this is funny? We had guests over," she yelled. "Children. Do you even know what it's like trying to explain to a 5-year-old why the bathroom doesn't flush?" I just sat down and said calmly, "Yeah, I do. You want me to explain that your aunt and uncle expect me to cover everything?" Suddenly, there was silence. Mom gasped, Samantha's eyes widened, and Dad clenched his fists. "How dare you speak to your family like that?" my mom snapped. Family, that word made me raise an eyebrow. The same family who told me not to come because I supposedly ruined the vibe? I asked. The same folks who laughed behind my back about how useful I am. The ones who used my money like it's some endless faucet. Dad stepped forward and tried to change the subject, but I wasn't done. "You're overreacting." "No," I said firmly, "I'm done just reacting, I'm finally acting." Samantha crossed her arms and sneered, "You really think cutting off utilities makes you powerful? Just to prove a point?" "No," I replied steadily, "it's what makes me free." She snorted dismissively, "You're being ridiculous." Honestly? She's always had this martyr complex, acting like she deserves applause for paying some bills. And let me tell you, last year alone, I spent about $10,000 on that nonsense, covering her heat, her Zoom therapy sessions, her new iPhone, even that fake business trip to Paris that was really just a spa week in Palm Springs. Her face went pale when she realized, "You went through my stuff." Then she added in disbelief, "You used my credit card for the plane ticket?" I reminded her coolly, "Yeah, I see all the statements," while Dad tried changing the subject again. "All right, listen up. We've clearly made some mistakes here, some of them, at least." I cut him off. "Dad, you looked me straight in the eye and told me I had no place at the table, that Samantha deserved more help because she had a future ahead of her. You said that to my face." "I was furious," he said softly. "No," I told him. "You were honest. For once." Mom reached out with a plea. "Honey, please. We're family. Can't we just start over? Undo what you did?" "No," I replied coldly. "Because this isn't just about shutting me out this Easter. You shut me out years ago. You've been fine taking what you want. But the second I say no, suddenly I'm the villain." Samantha was trembling now. She'd shifted from bright red fury to quiet rage. "You'll regret this," she hissed through clenched teeth. "You think cutting us off will make you feel better? You'll end up all alone." "Good," I said. "Being alone beats being drained by people who smile when I walk in and spit on my name when I leave." Silence fell, a heavy, crackling silence that seemed to zap the whole room with static. Then I stood up. Here's what's going to happen, I told them evenly. You're going to find another way to pay the utilities. You'll transfer the car lease out of my name within 30 days. You'll stop using my Netflix, my Spotify, my Amazon Prime accounts. And if you don't, I'll shut everything down, permanently. Dad started to protest. You wouldn't, try me, I said flatly. And Mom, if you ever guilt-trip me again with, we're your family, just remember, sons deserve love, not bills. Mom started crying. Dad looked down at the floor. Samantha stormed out, slamming the door so hard a picture frame tilted sideways on the wall. And honestly, I didn't care. I didn't chase after her. Didn't try to explain or fix anything. For the first time ever, I didn't try to make it better. I closed the door, locked it behind them, and finally exhaled. The war was over. And somehow, I'd come out on top. The silence afterward felt surreal. No calls. No texts. No unexpected knocks at the door. It was like they'd collectively decided I didn't even exist anymore. And you know what? That feeling was incredible. For the first time in years, I woke up without that dull weight in my chest, the one that whispers, what will they want from you today? No more checking my bank app to see if I had enough to cover their latest emergency. No more fake group chats where they share memes and leave my messages seen. No more holidays filled with guilt where I buy gifts for everyone and get socks in return. I was finally free. And that quiet? It was beautiful. I started sleeping better, eating healthier, living better overall. I bought a cheap used guitar and started teaching myself some chords just for fun. Reached out to college friends I hadn't seen in ages. Signed up for a photography class, something I'd always wanted to do but never had the time or energy or space for before. For once, all the mistakes I'd made were going toward me, my rent, my groceries, my future. It felt selfish at first, and then it felt fair. Then it just felt right. About a week later, Samantha posted a long story on Instagram, black background, white text, a classic passive-aggressive drama dump. Some people will leave you when you need them most. But God sees everything. And karma is real. I didn't reply, but I did take a screenshot just to get a laugh. A few days later, Dad called me. I stared at his ringing number, 5 times, and then let it go to voicemail. Hey, he left a message. Your mom's upset. Samantha's talking about selling her car. I don't get why you're doing this, but it's gone too far now. We're family, call us back. I didn't pick up. Instead, I emailed Samantha the transfer forms for the car lease, deadline, 2 weeks from now. Subject line, you're welcome. And then came a real shocker. Jenna, my cousin's wife, reached out unexpectedly. She was at that Easter gathering when everything blew up, quietly standing in the background as Samantha cursed and my mom clutched her pearls like I'd done something terrible. She sent me a message late one night. I know this might sound weird, but I just want to say thank you. I've never seen anyone in this family stand up for themselves like that before. Honestly, it made me see how they treat people differently, how they think love is control and money gets obedience. She told me I didn't deserve what happened and hoped I was doing okay. I stared at her message for a while. I guess someone finally saw me for who I am. So I wrote back, I'm better than okay, for the first time in a long time. But of course, peace doesn't last forever in my family. 2 weeks later, I come home to find a letter taped to my door, no return address on it. Inside was a handwritten note from my mom. The first line. We raised you better than this. The last. You'll always be our son, even if you've forgotten what that means. I folded it in half and tossed it in the trash without a second thought and then headed out for tacos because here's the thing, they'll never understand what family really is. They never did. They thought love was about control, that money meant obedience, that silence signaled agreement, that sacrificing yourself proved loyalty. But me? I finally got it now. And walking into my apartment alone feels different, peaceful, not because I'm unwanted but because I choose the quiet now. I strike a match, turn on some music, settle by the window, and take a deep breath. Nobody's waiting around for me to mess up or fail. There's no one demanding a wire transfer from me right now. And for once, I don't feel like just a backup plan in someone else's life, I feel like the main character in my own story. It's crazy how the world didn't fall apart. When I told my family I was done, the sky didn't split open. No thunder roared. No lightning of regret struck. Just silence. And a sense of freedom. And for someone like me, who spent his whole damn life playing the role of the good son, that silence meant everything. It wasn't emptiness, it was peaceful. It wasn't loneliness, it was quietness, the kind of quiet that makes room for your own voice to come back. Because for years, I couldn't even hear my own voice anymore. As soon as I woke up, I'd start calculating who I needed to rescue that day. Mom needed $310 to cover a temporary gas bill. Samantha's account got frozen, and she had a concert she couldn't afford to miss. Dad's credit card payment was overdue and would tank his credit score if I didn't step in. Every time I said yes, I felt myself shrinking a little more. They didn't ask me. They just expected me to do it. They didn't thank me afterward. They'd make jokes, but they never saw me. They just used me. And I let them, because I thought that's what love was supposed to feel like, suffocating. I believed being needed was the same as being wanted. But it's not. Being used isn't the same thing as being loved. It took slamming a door and disconnecting a power line to finally realize that truth. After Easter, the messages stopped coming, no more threats, no more pleas. No more guilt bombs wrapped in pretty bows. It was like I had died, and they were too polite to say it outright. But that ghostly face. It gave me the clearest view of my own life I'd ever had. I started asking myself questions no one had ever let me ask before. What do I actually want? Who am I outside of them? What might happen if I stop being their lifeline? And you know what I discovered? Breath. Space. Joy. I learned how to cook for myself, real meals, not just cereal and shame. I even joined a local music jam on Saturdays, started writing short stories, poetry, heck, even this story right here. Turns out, there's a whole person hidden beneath all that guilt. Then one evening, a few weeks after everything fell apart, I ran into someone at a bookstore, a girl I used to know in college named Claire. She looked different, happier, lighter, more alive. We grabbed coffee and started chatting, and at some point, she asked me, "Are you still close with your family?" I paused for a moment before answering honestly, something I'd never done before without hesitation, no. I cut ties with them. She blinked in surprise, then offered me a smile. Good. I chuckled, that caught me off guard too. Most people just stare at me like I admitted to murder or something. She shrugged and said, "Most folks don't know what it's like to be the family doormat." We ended up talking for hours, about boundaries, about healing, about finally choosing yourself without feeling guilty about it. That night, walking home, I realized I wasn't broken anymore, I was rebuilding myself from scratch, all on my own, without them around. And you know what? That was totally okay. Weeks turned into months, and I started noticing little things that meant everything. I no longer jumped at every phone call. I stopped panicking when I looked at my bank account. I quit checking Samantha's social media for the next jab or insult. One day, I even found myself genuinely laughing at a meme someone sent me. That wave of laughter hit me hard and made me realize, wow. I'm actually happy now. Not because some huge event changed my life, but because nothing was draining my energy anymore. For the first time in ages, I wasn't someone else's crutch or safety net, I was just me, alive, awake, untangled from all that baggage. And then came the final thing, I got a voicemail from my mom. Her voice was shaky and soft, almost fragile. "Hi, sweetheart, I just I hope you're doing okay. Samantha's been going through a tough time lately. Things in the house just aren't the same without you here. I know you're angry, I know we messed up along the way. But you're still our son. We love you, and we miss you so much. I listened to her message twice, and for the first time, I didn't cry or feel pulled back into that old cycle of guilt or rage. Instead, I just felt done. And that feeling? It wasn't cold or harsh, it was warm, like standing in the sun after years spent in the shade. So here's what I've learned now: saying no doesn't make you cruel, setting boundaries doesn't make you heartless. Walking away from toxic people, even if they're family, isn't betrayal, it's survival. Maybe now my name is a curse at their dinner table, or they'll spin stories about me being ungrateful or cold-hearted. Let them talk, they're not in my life anymore. And my life? It's finally mine again, completely mine. So if you're out there reading this and tired of always giving, forgiving, sacrificing while they laugh behind your back, let this be proof: it's okay to stop. It's okay to walk away and choose yourself instead of always putting others first. If they ever tell you you're not welcome anymore, just tell them, good. I didn't come here for their approval, I came to stop bleeding inside. Then you stand tall, walk out that door, and never look back. Peace isn't just somewhere they hand you on a silver platter, it's a spot you have to take back for yourself once you finally stand up and say, enough.